Now we're live.
Uhul. A live! Uma live depois de tanto tempo, a gente está aqui novamente na terça-feira maldita do Heavy Culture. E hoje, como sempre, a gente está aqui com uma presença super especial. Hoje, Joey Vera!
Yeah! Welcome to Heavy Culture.
Hello there.
Bem-vindo, Christian. Bem-vindo, Christian. Vamos aproveitar o momento, não é sempre que a gente conversa com o Joey Vera. E aproveitando, a gente pede aqui, please, Heavy Culture, subscribe to channel, please, dá uma força para nós aí. Christian, eu quero falar com o Joey, saudar ele. Boas-vindas, por favor, Christian.
Welcome to the channel, okay? It's a great pleasure for us to talk to you and have this opportunity also to talk about the things that are happening now once you are playing with Mercyful Fate too. So it's really great to talk to you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me too, and glad to be here. Sure, there's lots to talk about.
Yeah.
E a pergunta que eu vou lascar primeiro. Cara, o Mercyful Fate voltou, e aí, cara, conta as novidades, tudo para nós, Christian.
Okay, George is asking about the return of Mercyful Fate and the news, because now you were the bass player and things like that. What can you tell us, and how is it for you to be playing in this band now?
Well, I'm super honored, obviously, and very, very excited to do this. I haven't actually played with them yet. This was actually supposed to happen 2 years ago. In 2020, they had a whole summer tour booked in Europe, a bunch of festivals and stuff. And they approached me originally back in 2019. And at the time, Timmy Hansen was going through chemotherapy for his cancer. And they were afraid that he wasn't going to be healthy enough to do the tour. So they asked me, if just in case, if he couldn't do it, would I step in and handle it for them? And I said, yes, of course. I agreed, and I was super honored and stoked, and I honestly just thought, they're just doing this as a fail-safe. I had no idea that Tim was that ill, and then about 4 months later, I got the news that he had passed away. It was just terrible. It's awful because he's a friend of mine too, and I love his playing, and he was a great guy and everything. It was just really, really, really sad, So then it dawned on me, okay, now you actually have to play. You have to do this.
Yeah.
So we've been planning this for a few years. It was supposed to happen in 20, and then of course COVID came and that canceled 20. Moved to 21, Delta came out, canceled that one. Here we are with 22. It looks like it's going to happen. So they're promoting it heavily now, and it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of cool shows, a lot of great festivals, and I'm like a kid, because when I was first coming up with Armored Saint in 1982. I was a pen pal. I had pen pals in Europe, and we would trade tapes back and forth. I would make cassettes and send them bands from Los Angeles, and then they would send me bands from Holland and Belgium and Denmark or wherever, and UK. And one of the very first tapes I got was the Nuns Have No Fun EP, the first EP, Mercyful Fate EP, and I loved it. I played the shit out of that cassette. In fact, I still have that cassette in my garage. Yeah. So it's a trip. I'm learning all these songs, and it's I'm like a little kid again. It's this is amazing. So I'm once I get on stage and look around, I'm going to pinch myself because I think I might be dreaming,
Yeah. For sure. Okay, gonna give the Brazilian Portuguese version here, and then we.
Sorry, it was so long.
No problem. Ok. Falando em português aqui, ele está se sentindo muito honrado em tocar no Mercyful Fate. Isso era para ter acontecido antes, em 2019, né? Ele era para substituir o baixista que estava com câncer, né? Teve problema lá, né? Eles deixaram ele já de alerta. Só que no final das contas, o baixista veio a morrer, faleceu. Eles eram amigos também, ele sentiu muito, ele gostava bastante do estilo que o baixista tinha também. Isso acabou fazendo com que ele ficasse mais próximo ainda para tocar na banda, mais requisitado. Só que daí veio o Covid e os shows foram cancelados, né? E agora ele está bem contente com que eles estão fazendo uma promoção bem pesada assim em cima dessa turnê, né? E ele conheceu o Mercyful Fate lá em 82, lá na época do EP, na época das trocas de fita, né? Que o pessoal ficava mandando fita um para o outro, em outros países, coisa e tal. Então ele recebeu o EPzinho básico, que ele, None's Have No Fun, todo mundo conhece, todo mundo gosta, né? E ele ficou impressionado com aquilo. Então, tipo, ele tá bem feliz com essa oportunidade, tá aprendendo os sons, coisa e tal. E tá louco para subir no palco ao vivo, assim. Então, o que ele disse, ele vai se beliscar, né? Porque ele não acredita ainda que ele vai estar tocando ali com o Mercyful Fate, né? E é uma experiência que tem dizer, ele está se sentindo de novo como uma criança. Ele ainda tem lá a fita cassete, né, guardado na garagem, né? Ainda existe, né? Ele está bem com essa emoção, tipo, de kid de novo, assim, né? Tipo, né? Vou tocar na banda que eu cresci escutando e contribuiu bastante, assim. Então, isso é bem interessante. Jorge, pode emendar a segunda pergunta?
Legal, a pergunta é sobre o projeto Motor Sister, né, que tá para lançar aí o segundo play, né, que para quem não sabe, o Motor Sister é um projeto do Joey com o Scott Ian do Anthrax, né, o John Tempesto, batera, e tá lançando, né, é muito novo, né, porque a gente está pesquisando aqui, o play tá para sair agora no próximo mês, em maio. Se ele pode contar como é que tá a expectativa aí para o lançamento desse play do Motor Sister.
George is asking about your side project, Motor Sister, sorry. And what can you tell us about, what can we expect about this new album that is going to be released?
Well, it's our second record. This is our first record was really a bunch of covers. They were all covers from a band called Mother Superior, which the leader of this band, Jim Wilson, is part of. And so this record is our first record writing new music together as a 5-piece. So the record's great. It still plays along the lines of, you know, we kind of are coming from 1970s hard rock. That's where Mother Superior kind of comes from. And so we're just we have extension from that. We're all kids. Everyone in the band was born in come up in the 70s. And so this is the kind of music that we all grew up on, 70s hard rock. So, you know, this isn't really like a retro record though. It's just, we're just writing good kick-ass hard rock music. You know, it's just high energy hard rock, and we're super excited to let the world hear it. So it comes out in May 6th, actually.
And are you planning to release a video or something like that?
Yeah, well, we actually have our first official video. It comes out on the release day on May 6th. We have 2 other videos that are sort of more like visualizers. They're not really actual videos that we made, but we do have a good production video coming out, and it's cool. I can't say, I don't want to give anything away because it's pretty fun.
Yeah, we are expecting to see that. It's gonna be fun.
Comes May 6th.
May 6th, right. Speaking in Portuguese a little bit. Quanto ao projeto, né, ele é um projeto ligado ao Mother Superior, né? Ele é mais galgado dentro do hard rock setentão, mas ele não é retrô, né? Ele é porque eles têm a influência ali, ou que eles cresceram ouvindo, né? O hard rock do década de 70, né? Então, tipo, o primeiro álbum é mais um álbum de covers, né? Então, tipo, esse é o primeiro trabalho deles como banda mesmo, assim, tipo, vai sair agora em maio, né? 6 de maio. Então, ele tá bem satisfeito, assim, não quer entregar ainda o que vai vir, né? Então, ele já tem 2 clipes gravados, né? Já gravaram para divulgar o som, assim. Eu perguntei se vai ter alguma coisa de vídeo, coisa e tal. Então, já tem um vídeo gravado que vai sair junto com o lançamento do álbum, né? Para divulgar. E tem mais outro. Ele não quer entregar ainda os vídeos. Mas eles estão bem emocionados, também ansiosos para ver o resultado e para ver o que a galera vai achar, assim, porque esse é diferente do outro, né? É mais uma continuação, que ele falou, não é algo retrô, mas é algo que traz aquilo com que eles cresceram escutando, né? Pode falar, Jorge. Ivan.
Muito bom. O Ivan, seja bem-vindo, Ivan. Aproveita e já pega o bonde, meu amigo. Sem áudio, Ivan.
Queria perguntar para ele se, como ele já falou das bandas dos anos 70, eu percebo nele que ele tem uma grande influência do Gary Tame, baixista falecido baixista do Uriah Heep. Não sei se ele consegue me...
Ivan is asking about your influences, and he says that he notices that you have kind of great influence of Uriah Heep in the bass.
Influenced by who?
By Uriah Heep.
Oh, Uriah Heep, yeah.
Yeah.
I love Uriah Heep, and Lizzie too.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean, I you know, again, I grew up in the 70s, so I grew up listening to the first hard rock music, real rock music I listened to was bands like that, you know. It was all that stuff. Sabbath, Uriah Heep, Deep Purple, Zeppelin, you know, Aerosmith Rocks, you know, the first Kiss Alive record, or the first 2 Cheap Tricks records, early Ted Nugent, you know, Wishbone Ash. I mean, just all kinds of stuff, but all from like 72 till 78 was like a golden era. You know, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Ok.
Respondido.
Speaking in Portuguese a little bit, falando aí pro ele tem influência, sim, porque ele, como ele disse antes, né, ele cresceu nessa época da década de 70, né, o Uriah Heep é uma influência, o Tim Lizzy também, que ele mostrou ali o bonezinho, é uma grande influência, né, o Kiss também, né, todas essas bandas, assim, que ele citou antes aí, que tu pega da década de 70, Chip Trick também, então, tipo, são bandas que ele cresceu ouvindo, então ele tem, com certeza, essa influência, assim, e foi o que moldou ele como baixista, né.
Muito bom. Eu queria, não sei se o Ivan quer emendar outro, Ivan.
Eu queria perguntar para ele quais são as influências dele como baixista e também como produtor, porque ele trabalhou tanto como baixista como produtor, ele produziu muitas bandas. Então, tipo, um cara que eu acho que seria uma boa influência para ele seria o Roger Glover. Ele gosta bastante do Roger Glover como produtor e como baixista. Roger Glover do Deep Purple.
Okay, so Eva is asking about your influences as a bass player and producer. Okay, your influences like the bass player of the too.
Roger Glover.
Yeah.
Well, okay. First, I guess I should say first of all, as a bass player, I think that I gravitated originally when I first picked up the bass. I was about 17 years old, I guess. And I think the first players that really I gravitated towards was Geezer Butler. You know, the blues-based players, all the blues-based players for me. Geezer Butler, John Paul Jones, John Entwistle, a little bit of Jack Bruce, you know, and then from there it went like, you know, John Deacon. Then I got into funk, like Verdine White from Earth, Wind and Fire, Louis Johnson from the Brothers Johnson. You know, I got into Sly and the Family Stone. So, you know, I mean, all kinds of things. That's the beginning. And then I started to get influenced by stuff a little bit later, like jazz fusion. Jaco Pastori was a big influence on me, but that was a little bit later. probably when I was about 19. But so the beginning for me was all blues-based players. So that's really where my roots comes from is the blues hard rock. And then as far as producers go, I mean, there's so many, you know, Roger Glover being one of them. I mean, there's so many records growing up that I started to pay attention fairly early on to, like, looking at the liner notes, and like I like to take notice who produced it and who engineered it and that kind of stuff. So Martin Birch was a big one for me, especially in the hard rock and metal world. I mean, he produced, you know, the early Deep Purple stuff and early Sabbath stuff, and then of course a little bit later the first several Iron Maiden records, and just great producer. But so many, like, you know, man, I mean, Roy Thomas Baker. I mean, I don't know. There's just so many amazing producers from some of my favorite records. You know, James Guthrie. I mean, all kinds of people. There's a lot.
Yeah, great. Ok. Como baixista ali, ele cita bastante bandas de jazz, né? Que é meio que ele veio, Jazz Butler, né? E como produtor, ele falou ali também que ele se interessava bastante desde o início, quando ele pegava os LPs ali, ele queria ver quem que fez a engenharia, quem que produziu, todo esse lance, né? Então ele sempre foi ligado nisso desde o começo, assim. Obviamente ele tem grande influência, né, do baixista do Deep Purple como produtor também, mas ele tem várias outras influências porque ele sempre, né, se preocupou em ver quem produziu, quem produziu o Iron Maiden, né? Então, tipo, tem toda essa parafernália de produtores que ele prestava atenção já quando ele comprava os LPs ali, ele ia ali para ver quem que é que tinha feito, quem que produziu, quem que gravou, coisa e tal. Então, o interesse dele já vinha dali quando ele tinha uns 19 anos, por aí. Então, tipo, como ele mesmo fala, é muito nome para citar. Os outros que ele citou, não vou citar também.
Boas referências, nós entendemos. Excelentes referências. Eu queria perguntar, Christian, sobre o Fate's Warning, né, que lançou o último disco em 2020, no auge ali da pandemia. Como é que estão as coisas com essa grande banda Fate's Warning?
Oh, well, Jay is asking about Fate's Warning. They released the album in 2020, like pandemic. And how is the band doing now?
Well, the band's doing good. We, you know, we're really happy with the record. It was interesting to finish the record during the first wave of COVID, but we work remotely anyway. We live in different parts of the world, so we're used to working remotely, so it was okay. But you know, we unfortunately don't have any tour plans at the very moment, but we're still trying to get something going. You know, things are just kind of starting to get back to normal as far as touring goes. So we're still kind of at the back of the line, trying to get to the front of the line. So I don't know. We're hopefully, you know, we're hoping to get some dates together and do some touring, because we're really happy with the record and we want to go out and play again. So.
Yeah. Ok. Bom, eles estão bem felizes com o resultado. Eles terminaram ele na primeira onda da pandemia. A maior parte dele foi gravada remotamente, né? Porque cada um tá num canto, né? Então, tipo, não tinha como gravar, né? Não tem nenhuma turnê agendada, porque recém as coisas estão voltando ao normal, mas eles estão bem satisfeitos com o resultado do LP, né? Bem contentes com o que eles conseguiram fazer, sim. Mas estamos esperando ainda para ver o que vai ser feito, né? Agora também tem turnê com...
Stand-by, né? Resumo da obra, stand-by.
Mas eles estão satisfeitos com todo o resultado e por terem conseguido terminar ele na primeira onda do Covid, né? Então, tipo, isso aí já foi bastante útil, assim. E ficaram bem felizes com o resultado também.
A gente tem uma pergunta da audiência do nosso querido amigo Eduardo Teixeira. Muito bom. O Joey já esteve no Brasil com o Armored Saint. A pergunta é se ele tem recordações desse show em São Paulo.
Ok. So we have a question from the audience here. Okay, Eduardo Teixeira is asking about the tour of the Armored Saint in Brazil. And your remembrances from this concert in São Paulo?
Well, crazy as ever. You know, there's a certain kind of passion that only happens in certain parts of the world, and certainly in southern Brazil, it's just, the fans are just crazy, and we don't see that everywhere else. And we had an amazing time there. Everyone was so genuinely nice and excited, and the passion for seeing live music and coming to the shows we've never seen anything like that before as a band. And we just can't wait to come back. You know, I was just thinking about this yesterday, in fact, like, you know, now that the world's hopefully starting to open up again, there's a lot of work to do. You know, Armored Saint has to go back to Brazil and play again. So that's one of the things on the list for sure.
Loucura, como sempre, né? Tem paixões diferentes em todo mundo, mas aqui no Brasil, os fãs do Brasil têm uma resposta totalmente diferente, muito mais louca, assim. Então a experiência aqui foi muito boa, né? Foi uma coisa louca, assim. Ele estava lembrando, inclusive, ontem disso, né? Que eles querem voltar aqui para o Brasil, né? Porque tem toda essa diferença do público, assim, e está na lista, né? Agora que os shows estão voltando ao normal, né? Estão conseguindo começar a voltar a fazer shows, o Brasil está na lista de novo e ele está bem entusiasmado para voltar a tocar aqui, né? Justamente por causa do público também, né?
Vai lá, Ivan. Áudio.
Falando em Brasil, ele entrou recentemente no Mercyful Fate.
A gente já falou.
Sorry. Então, desculpa.
Sorry.
Eu queria falar sobre as bandas que ele produziu. Existe alguma banda assim que ele teve uma dificuldade maior assim em passar as informações, que ele é um cara que tem muita experiência. Alguma banda que ele teve dificuldade de trabalhar em estúdio?
Okay. Eva is asking a question to you as a producer. Is there any band that you have certain difficulty to produce?
That I have what? Difficulty?
Kind of difficulty to produce a band as a producer. Like, is there any band that you feel like, okay, not very comfortable producing it? I'm facing some difficulty to produce.
No. I mean, there's you know, there's always a situation you have to overcome sometimes when you're working with people, but that goes with anything in life, I think, you know, especially when you find yourself in situations with with different people at different times. And I've sort of looked at producing and even part of engineering in a way, a little bit of troubleshooting. It's a troubleshooting job where you're trying to get to a goal and you need to find the best way to get there. And sometimes you have hurdles in front of you and problems, and sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small, but either way, you're the one in charge who has to kind of get everyone there without killing each other. So that's it's a challenging thing, and I think that most people that are producers would agree that that's just part of the animal that comes with the territory of being a producer. But I wouldn't say that I would never describe it as, you know, something that was made it difficult or hard to work with. I've never been in that situation myself personally.
Sempre superar essas dificuldades com a própria banda, né? É um trabalho difícil, nenhum animal tentando marcar o território, né? Ele é mais, como ele fala assim, um cara que soluciona problemas do que agrega problemas, né? Porque tem essa coisa do produtor, assim, é difícil, porque tu é o cara que está encarregado de tudo, então tu tem que resolver tudo sem fazer com que os caras se matem ali, né? Então, tipo, tem essa dificuldade de achar o problema e solucionar o problema. Então, tipo, mas ele nunca teve nenhum problema, assim, ele gosta disso, né? E tá sendo tranquilo para ele, né? We have another question from the audience. I think you can read it.
It's very small.
Yeah, I can read for you. Okay.
Is it from Rodrigo?
Yes. Let me see. And it's not a question. It's like he's just giving your his regards for the job you did here and with Armored Saint and the band.
Yeah. Thank you. Like I said, we had such a good time there. Just there's a certain vibe in Brazil that's just, it's just like no other place, and it's amazing, and I really miss it. I've been there a few times. I was there with Fate's Warning before, and also with Anthrax, and so I've got the bug.
Yeah, and now it's like a possibility with Mercyful Fate too, right?
Well, I hope so. There's no plans, as far as I know, other than all these European festivals, and it's all Europe, and then there's one show in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the end of summer. But it's, I would say that they're probably thinking about it for the future. They have been talking about writing new music for a new record. So there's a potential for a new record, and usually new record means a longer tour. So hopefully if that happens, they would include a tour that would go all over the world, which would also include South America and Brazil, obviously.
Yeah.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking in Portuguese. Bom, ele agradeceu pelas lembranças, né? Eu perguntei sobre a possibilidade do Mercyful Fate tocar aqui, ainda não há uma possibilidade, porque eles têm todas as agendas cheias para a Europa, né? Tem toda essa turnê europeia para fazer ainda, né? Ele também comentou que eles estão já discutindo a possibilidade de fazer um álbum novo, e aí sim, fazer uma turnê mundial, e aí há a possibilidade de incluir o Brasil nisso também. Né, mas eles estão já discutindo sobre fazer um material novo, está bem entusiasmado com isso também, e incluir uma turnê para esse material novo. Vai ser uma turnê diferente. Então há essa possibilidade de ter aí um Mercyful Fate novo saindo, né? E uma turnê para cá também.
Christian, o Joey tem um álbum solo de 94, longínquo 1994. Eu queria que ele falasse qual é a visão dele desse primeiro álbum solo e se ele tem aí planos para um novo álbum solo, já que se passaram tantos anos, né?
Sim. Jay is talking about your first solo album, 1994, and if you have plans to record another solo album and your remembrances from that album too.
Well, I do have another one that came out in 2004, and it's called A Chinese Fire Drill, and that one is much more kind of prog rock, art rock than the first one. The first one, Thousand Faces, was something I did right after Armored Saint broke up in 1992, and that kind of just came about by accident in a way. I was basically without a band and wasn't doing anything, so I started writing music for really no apparent reason, and I wrote a whole bunch of music that was, some of it was hard rock and some of it was kind of folky and some of it was sort of industrial sounding, it was a little bit all over the place. And a friend of mine owned a studio out in Wisconsin, and he offered me the studio. He said, if you can get out here, you can use it for free, and as long as you want. And I was like, that's amazing. So I went out and recorded this record with a few local musicians in Wisconsin, and I had no intentions of really making a solo record, but after I recorded something like 10 or 12 songs or something, I let my friends hear it, and they suggested, yeah, you should put this out, and so then I finally got up the nerve and and put it out through Metal Blade in '94. So that was it was good for me to do, because I think that I was feeling a little bit like was trying to find myself again after Armored Saint broke up, and I didn't have a band anymore. So it was kind of the beginning of me sort of reinventing who I was as a musician, not as a person necessarily, but as a musician. So it was really good for me to do that first record. And the second one, that, like I said, Chinese Fire Drill, that one is a much more focused kind of a directional thing. It has more in common with like Porcupine Tree and Tool than it does with the first record I did, you know.
Bom, ele falou ali do primeiro álbum, né, que aconteceu logo depois do que o Armored Saint, né, se dissolveu, acabou, né, e ele estava tentando se reencontrar como músico, né, então ele tinha tentado, começou a escrever música do nada, né, e um amigo dele ofereceu um estúdio para ele tocar, ele decidiu gravar, foi para um estúdio de Wisconsin, né, músicos do lugar mesmo ali, eles gravaram, mostrou para alguns amigos deles que eles falaram, ele deveria lançar isso aí. Aí ele acabou lançando pela Metal Blade, né? Acabou chamando um pouco de atenção, assim. Para ele foi legal, porque ele estava tentando se reinventar, se redescobrir como músico, né? Então ajudou bastante. O segundo já é um pouco diferente, já é mais focado, né? O primeiro tem muito de hard rock, tem coisa de industrial, o segundo ele já fala que leva mais tudo, a vida, assim. Então, tipo, eles são dois álbuns bem importantes para ele, assim, né? Mas o primeiro que ele tem essas lembranças, assim, de que ele começou a escrever tudo assim, por escrever, e acabou, né, se achando ali como músico, porque ele estava meio perdido um pouco por causa do fim do Armored Saint, né, tá sem banda, né, então, né.
Legal, bacana. E Ivan, quer fazer alguma aí? A gente está se encaminhando.
Quero fazer uma pergunta para ele. Se ele fosse fazer um cartão de visita para ele, ele gravou inúmeras bandas e participou de inúmeras bandas. Qual é o álbum, se ele fosse mostrar como cartão de visita, qual é o álbum que ele escolheria para mostrar?
Okay, Ivan is asking you about like if you have to introduce you as a bass player, which band would you say that this is my card? Okay, like this is like me as a musician. Which band would you introduce to the person as a bass player? Sorry.
You're gonna make me choose one, huh?
That's how I
Saia justa.
See, this is why, like, this is why I tried to reinvent myself so I wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, honestly, I think that I'd always have to go with where I started. So, me as a bass player, you know, I come from Armored Saint, and that's my lineage is the oldest from there. You know, I never think of myself anymore as only that person. You know, I've been in Fate's Warning probably longer than I was in Armored Saint, believe it or not, because Armored Saint broke up for 12 years. So I think I've been in Fate's Warning longer than I've been in Armored Saint, if you add up all the years. And I'm very proud of my work with Fate's Warning. I feel like I became a much better musician, far better musician than I was before having been in Fate's Warning. But, you know, I think if you get down to the nitty gritty and the nuts and bolts of it, I think that, yeah, I guess Armored Saint would be the first on the list because it starts with A. So A is the first letter in the alphabet. So it's, you know, Armored Saint.
Yeah, sure.
then Fate's Warning, and then Motor Sister, Mercyful Fate, you know.
Yeah.
Alphabetical order.
Yeah. Ok, então ali ele falou que para ele é meio difícil, né, ter que escolher uma banda, né, mas voltando pro início ele vai botar o Armored Saint porque foi onde tudo começou, né, mas ele fala que ele tocou muito mais tempo no Fate's Warning, né, do que no próprio Armored Saint, porque o Armored Saint acabou, né. Então é uma meio que ele que nem ele falou, tipo, é difícil de responder porque ele tentou se reinventar como músico, né? Então é difícil de escolher uma banda só, né?
Mas essa foi fria, total.
É o primeiro da letra A, então vai ser o Armored Saint, né?
Boa, e saiu bem. Saiu bem.
E no Fate's Warning ele acha que ele já conseguiu evoluir mais como músico, foi onde ele conseguiu evoluir bem mais o trabalho dele, chamou mais atenção também, né? E tem o Mother Sister e o Mercyful Fate também, que estão aí também como cartão de visita dele. Então, tipo,
muito bom.
O Armored Saint não adianta, né? Vai ter que se livrar dela. Mas tem várias outras bandas aí que servem para isso também.
E, Christian, já que a gente falou em Armored Saint, a gente deixou para o último a pergunta, né? Também o último álbum, o último play de estúdio da banda foi em 2020. E o que
Matador.
Matador, um disco fantástico. Fala pro Joey isso, por favor. E o que a banda tá planejando aí?
Do Armored Saint?
Yes.
Okay. Jay is asking about the last album Armored Saint recorded because it was fantastic. Okay. And what can we expect about after this? Like, because the album is like really great. Is there like a possibility of a new album and things like that?
Well, I wouldn't say no. At this point, we haven't thought about it yet. Obviously, our mind is still very much fresh with Punching in the Sky because it came out in 2020 during the pandemic. So we feel like it's sort of been put on hold. So now we're looking forward to getting out and doing some touring for it, playing these new songs live and that kind of stuff. We have the only thing we have going on this year is a 6-week tour in the United States with supporting Wasp. And it's going to be a great tour. Both bands it's a great package. And so we're really excited about playing live again. But as far as new music and in the future, we haven't got there yet. So once we get this out of our system and do an album cycle of touring, then we'll revisit the idea of what to do next.
O álbum novo aí de 2020, eles não tiveram muito tempo para divulgar, né? Eles estão planejando uma tour, tem uma tour agora de 6 semanas, até eles vão tocar com o Asp, que nem ele falou, ele tá bem entusiasmado com isso, né? Eles querem divulgar mais esse álbum, eu perguntei se eles estão planejando alguma coisa nova, não, por enquanto não, o álbum saiu em 2020, a gente teve aí 2 anos de Covid para ferrar tudo, né? Então, tipo, não teve turnê, não teve uma divulgação como deveria ser. Então, eles estão mais focados em tocar, fazer as turnês desse álbum, né? Fazer ele acontecer mesmo. E aí, quem sabe, né? Não descarta poder escrever coisa nova, mas primeiro é divulgar esse álbum em si. Né? Eu gostaria de perguntar uma curiosidade para ele, antes de terminar aí, então. I have a curiosity to ask you, like, how was it to be playing in a movie like Hellraiser 3? Because I discovered the band because of that film, like I was watching that and like, wow, there's a good do you remember that?
He's an old guy.
Yeah. Well, it was great. We already, at that point, I was already a fan of Pinhead and the Hellraiser movies. So when they asked us to have a part in the movie, we said, absolutely, like whatever you want. It's funny, kind of a funny story was when they sent us the script, right? So they had our parts were written in the script, what we were supposed to do and all what was going to happen. And the script read great. It was like, the band's playing on stage and then, Pinhead comes in the room and then all the Cenobites are in the room and then they start killing everyone and everyone gets murdered and the bass player gets a stick through his head and then the singer gets his neck slashed. And it was very detailed about how we died. And so we were like, this is going to be fucking amazing. So we agreed to do it. We were on tour and then we had a day off and we went to North Carolina or something like that. And we were there all day long. It was this very long, it was like shooting a music video, which, as anybody knows, it's really boring, actually. It's just very long day, a lot of waiting around. And finally, it was like 16 hours in, and we hadn't gotten murdered yet. And so we were like, when is the whole blood and the murder going to happen? And the director said, oh man, we got what we need on stage and we got the club scene, but we ran out of time. So you guys have to go back on tour tomorrow. And we don't have time to shoot the death scene. We're like, oh man, it's like, that's the whole reason we're here. But it came out pretty good anyway.
Yeah, it was amazing. Então, lembrando aí, né, quem não sabe ou quem nunca viu, né, o Armored Saint estava lá no Hellraiser 3, né, onde eu conheci a banda também, assim, por acaso, assim. ele tem boas lembranças, ele já, naquela época ele já gostava bastante do Hellraiser, do Pinhead, e quando convidaram eles para fazer, os caras mandaram para ele o script completo, tá lendo as mortes da banda, para conhecer e coisa e tal, eles ficaram bem entusiasmados, e disseram sim, sem cansar 2 vezes, né? Então, tipo, eles estavam em turnê quando eles tiveram que gravar a parte deles, né? Foram para lá, né, gravar um clipe difícil, foi mais de 6 horas gravando, e nunca chegavam na parte que eles morriam, né? Tava lá, tipo, você vê detalhes de como ia ser, coisa e tal. Então eles estavam lá, infelizmente não vai dar para gravar a parte que vocês morreram, né? Então, tipo, a banda estava em turnê, né? Tinha que voltar no outro dia para turnê. Eles passaram o dia inteiro gravando, tocando, mas não saiu a parte que eles morriam, né? Daí depois tiveram que dar um jeito depois da turnê para gravar, mas foi muito legal, assim, para a banda, eles ficaram muito entusiasmados, né? E foi bem interessante, assim, ter essa parte da banda ali, porque eles gostavam bastante do filme, gostavam bastante do Pinhead.
Tem uma pergunta da audiência e encerramos, Christian, por favor.
We have a question from the audience here, okay? It's like Bill Lucena is asking about he is asking if the opportunity to play with Fate's Warning was because of your solo album or because of Armored Saint.
Well, maybe yes to both of those, but I had been friends with the band, Jim Matheos, and all the guys really since early on, even before Ray joined the band, in fact. So I've known them since 86, 87. We met them on tour when we were touring in, I forget, probably 85 or 86, and we played in Connecticut, where they're from. And became friends very quickly, and we always stayed in touch. And so I was always friendly with them, and I got my first taste playing with them in '89 during their No Exit tour. The bass player Joe's one of his parents came ill, and he had to leave the tour for 3 or 4 days or something. And so they called me and said, "Hey, can you come on tour?" And like I got like 4 days notice or something, and I was like, "What?" Like, so I had to learn the set, and they were doing Ivory Gated Dreams at that point, you know, from No Exit, and I was like, "Oh my God!" It was so much to learn in such a short amount of time, but I went ahead and did it, and I got through it. Made some mistakes here and there, but that was in '89, and so when they were doing getting ready to do A Pleasant Shade of Gray, they called me, and Jim called me, and he said, "Hey, you know, I'm making another record, and I don't think Joe wants to tour anymore, and Frank doesn't want to tour anymore, and do you want to do it?" And I said, "Absolutely, I would love to." So it's really just came out of friendship more than anything. But, you know, through, I guess the Armored Saint connection was how we met in the first place. Yeah.
Pouco sim, pouco não, porque ele já era amigo dos caras do Armored Saint. Ele tocou a primeira vez com o Armored Saint em 89 para substituir o baixista, porque um dos parentes dele estava doente, não ia poder fazer a tour, e aí ele foi convidado para fazer a tour. Teve que aprender ali a tocar as músicas bem rápido, né? Um monte de música, fez um errinho aqui, um errinho ali, mas foi tranquilo. E aí depois eles perguntaram para ele se ele queria continuar na banda, porque, né, o baixista não queria mais tocar, coisa e tal. E ele, não, ótimo, eu fico. Mas ele fala que é mais por causa da amizade, né, do que o próprio trabalho solo, porque eles já se conheciam antes, né, bem mais tempo, sempre foram amigos, sempre manteram contato, coisa e tal. Então, quando ele teve essa oportunidade, chamaram ele e ficou ali tocando junto com Fate's Warning.
Muito bom, cara, muito legal.
Eles já tinham uma relação, né, já tinha essa amizade, e ele, como adora tocar, né, tipo, não, vamos ficar então, né, tranquilo. Então, podemos dar as despedidas aqui?
Isso aí, a gente quer agradecer demais aí, agradece ao Joey, não é sempre que a gente tem essa grande oportunidade.
Okay, Joey, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you. Okay, it was great. Okay, it's like talking the name of the audience here, like everyone who had the opportunity to watch you live now. I think it was like very satisfied with your answers. Okay, and it was really a great pleasure to talk to you, and also remember how I said free.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. I appreciate it. So I thank you for the time and for talking to me for a bit and helping spread the word, all this stuff. And best wishes to you guys. And I can't wait. I really cannot wait to get back down and see you guys in person in Brazil. So hopefully soon, within the next 12 months, somehow with one of my 5 bands, I'll see you guys down there.
Yeah, hope so. I really hope so.
Thank you so much.
Ele espera voltar aí, né? Pelo menos quantas 5 bandas ele vai ter que aparecer aqui para tocar. Então, tipo,
muito bom.
Então, thank you very much, okay?
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Amanhã
Thank you. Be safe.
You too.
Take care.
Amanhã, take care. Thank you so much, Joey. Agenda extra amanhã, só a mensagem final. Thomas Vidal, do Cynic, Def, gravou o clássico Human do Def, vai estar com a gente amanhã. Agenda extra. Anota aí que a coisa tá pegando fogo. Obrigado, Ivan. Obrigado, Joey. Thank you, Joey. Christian. Bye,
Obrigado.
galera.
Bye.
Obrigado.
Obrigado.